See this wall of faces? Perhaps you recognize a few of them. They all have one thing in common. All of them have the same last name, Jones. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jones, Tim Jones. I'm unique, just like the other 58,730 people in the world with the exact same name. No, wait, I've just been informed that another Jones family in Topeka, Kansas has christened their newborn Tim. Okay, so make that 58,731 Tim Joneses. When I Googled my name, I'm not kidding, I got over 26 million search results. So I guess I'm not quite as unique as my mom said I was. And there are plenty of hassles of having a common name. More on the other side. Welcome back. As I was saying, having such a common name is more of an annoyance than you might think. First, it is utterly uninspiring. Do you recall the Civil War hero Tim Jones? No? How about the movie star with the same name? I thought not. Great men throughout history possessed distinguished, memorable monikers like Alexander the Great and Abraham Lincoln and Winston Churchill. Not that I would have preferred being a Winston, mind you, but you get my point. You know, it's just that the typical response to hearing the name Tim Jones is an irresistible impulse to yawn. And let me prove it with a short story. Once upon a time, there was a poor old Italian fisherman, and every day he would row his crusty rowboat out to sea in hopes of catching just enough fish to feed his family. And he did this for several years, fighting the high winds and rough waters until finally he no longer had the strength to do it anymore. So he decided to retire, began collecting Social Security, and moved to a condo in Arizona to be, closer to the grandkids. Okay. That's a pretty lame story, I'll admit. But let me ask you a question. If you had to guess, what would you say was the fisherman's name? Take your time. Did you guess Tim Jones? Well, then you'd be wrong. The fisherman's name was Antonio Vespucci. Why in the world would an Italian fisherman be named Tim Jones? You're not exactly a Sherlock Holmes, are you? Which reminds me, now that's a memorable name. But I digress. Okay, so look at this photo. That's Yankee Stadium on opening day, filled to the rafters. Did you know that you could try to fill an entire baseball stadium with people named Tim Jones and there would still be several thousand people turned away? Having a plain name makes me the target for anyone who's checking IDs. Tim Jones is so nondescript. The name, not the person, that I'm routinely asked for additional identification to prove that it's not just an alias. That's why I always carry my passport, birth certificate, and FBI fingerprint records anytime I check into a hotel or use the drive-thru at the QFC. It just makes life easier. For years, when I first met someone, they would ask with excitement if I was related to the Welsh crooner from the 1960s, Tom Jones, simply because our names sound so similar. It certainly wasn't because of my singing talent, I assure you. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. Tom Jones is from Wales. I live in Seattle. There are over 5.5 million people in the world named Jones, over 500,000 Joneses in England and Wales alone. So these people seriously think we might be related? These people might want to take a refresher course in probability and statistics. Okay. Since I know you're still wondering, yeah, it's true. We are related. Tom's my second cousin on my father's side, and we're very close. Hey, cuz, miss you, buddy. No, of course I'm not related to Tom Jones. Are you that gullible? Okay, so technically, maybe we are related. I mean, if you go back in our family trees far enough, say to the 11th century, there's a chance that our ancestral histories might have crossed paths. And of course, if you go back a tad further in my genetic past, I'm also related to my cat, Zippy. But that's not the only source of confusion with a pedestrian appellation like mine. I've had hassles throughout my life caused by mistaken identity. When I was 21, I tried to join friends at a local nightclub, but the bouncer, who looked a lot like this guy, took one look at my ID and refused to let me enter. It turns out that the night before, some other chap bearing my name got wildly drunk, trashed the place and had to be forcibly removed. Now, the fact that I bore no resemblance, not to mention the small matter that I don't actually drink, was irrelevant. The bouncer must have concluded that, one Tim Jones was as bad as the next, or perhaps he thought that the other Tim Jones underwent the same-day facial reconstruction surgery to disguise his appearance so he could go clubbing again the next evening. Yeah, that sounds plausible. During graduate school at Ohio State, I received a series of stern warning letters from Student Financial Services threatening to expel me because I had not paid tuition. I had, of course, but some other deadbeat Tim Jones had not. There were 5 Tim Joneses at Ohio State when I went there. Then there was that other time when this idiot, named Tim Jones, was pulled over by a cop for driving the wrong way down a one-way street, and they had the nerve to hit me with his $250 fine. Now, admittedly, the idiot that they pulled over was actually me, but my point is this: what if it had been someone else with my name? But the capper of my mistaken identity mishaps happened a few years ago, right here. This is the USA-Canada border crossing at the famous Peace Arch separating the southern border of British Columbia with the northern border of Washington State. And this is a true story. I was driving home from a visit to seeing a couple friends of mine in Vancouver, Canada. When I reached this very border crossing, I was pulled over by U.S. Customs because my name, Tim Jones, raised a red flag in their database. I was told to drive over to this building where I waited while they ran my name through their records to make sure that I was not some sort of terrorist, or worse yet, an opponent of the NRA. More than an hour later, the agent cleared me to proceed home. And being naturally curious, I asked him, so what triggered the security screening? And he said that there was a bad hombre in Georgia with my name wanted for murder. So I asked him, what finally cleared me of suspicion? Well, he's a black man, the agent said sternly, making no eye contact. This is a photo of the other Tim Jones. Yeah, I can totally see how they might have mistaken me for him. I have almost the identical series of neck tattoos and multiple body piercings. An understandable mistake. Now, perhaps I should have kept my mouth shut, but as I started to leave, I turned to the customs officer and I said, that is a relief, sir. And just for the record, I've been a white guy almost my entire life. Now, it was hard to tell whether he appreciated my sense of humor as he glared at me without cracking a smile before saying, you can go. Having my commonplace name will never open doors for me, but it has pushed me to become my own unique Tim Jones, which it turns out comes with plenty of other problems of its own. Just ask my wife. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. I'm Tim Jones. See, my name is even forgettable to me. Take care.